How's your week been anyway? You've had your Botox done, I see.
You want to have folk like Ruesha in your changing room, like, it's a bit vanilla, innit?
You would love it. You would love it.
Definitely.
I'm sorry about Ruesha.
It's great to see Manchester City getting some recognition for the football they play. I think they're such a joy to watch.
If we're talking on goals and we're wanting goals to be scored, I'd like to see Viv just hat-tricks every game. Why not?
Would you say it's verging on boring now?
It's not boring. We're pushing for equality. We're pushing for things to be better.
I like that you're on the straight and narrow.
Even when it comes to the maternity policy that's still in play, I feel like it's not enough. This is the bare minimum and the clubs could do more.
The sad thing is right now, in the women's game, there's people that won't have a child right now. They'll put it off because they're scared that they won't get a new contract. I'm a Celtic fan. Want to see them do well. However,
hello and welcome back to The Kickback. My name's Shebhan Aherne and I'm joined by my twin sister, the gobby one, professional football player Ruesha Littlejohn. Coming up for you on the show, we've got former Arsenal and current London City Lioness defender Emma Mukandi. She'll be in the studio to discuss the latest from the WSL, the Champions League, and what clubs can do to help players wanting to become mums. Plus, we're going to hear from former Manchester City midfielder Izzy Christensen on her former club's prospects for this season, and also Celtic's Caitlyn Hayes to tell me how it felt to make it to the Champions League round of 16 for the first time ever. All of that coming up for you on the show. Make sure you do subscribe and leave us a comment, and we'll get straight back into it. Ruesha, how are you? Welcome back to The Kickback.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It took me about 100 attempts to read that.
Yeah,
so...
I don't know. Obviously, you're mad daft on the Women's Championship that you're not really into.
The Champions League Championship.
Yeah.
The Champions League of the Championship.
Yeah.
The League ship.
Yeah. In fairness, the Champions League's probably just a little bit more exciting than the Championship.
Don't say that.
But it is. I don't know why you get your back
own
up.
league.
It's fine. We are not Champions League material yet, but that will change.
How many years before London City Lionesses get into the Champions League? Because they must be like a plan of action where they see themselves going there.
Right, I'm sure I'm okay to say this. The vision, I'm sure, was in the next couple of years, but I think you've got to times that by 2. That's going to be.
Did you see your result in the weekend, Ted?
Yes, I did, but that's the vision of the club. That's what they want, success, so they're going to really push for that. But I think being realistically, you've got to respect the league that we're in right now. We're a long way off it, but I think the way the club's going, the investment, the manager, that's the level that he's used to, and that's where they'll want to get back to. So I think a few years. Okay,
interesting. Emma Mukandi, Nee Mitchell, who we know as Mitchie, is going to be with us on the show very, very soon, and we can get her thoughts on that. And also on the Champions League, because all of the ties have been announced, the draw has been done. It's decent to have so many British sides in it, and including Celtic as well, from Scotland. How's your week been anyway? You've had your Botox done, I see?
I have, but I would say that you are Brighton daft, aren't you? You're not really bothered about Ireland or any Irish teams that might have been in it, but unfortunately we've not progressed through. But no, it's actually nice to see the likes of Celtic in it, last 16 for the first time. That is massive. That's a big deal for the club, and hopefully it helps them push forward in the right direction. But I've had a lovely weekend. I had Sunday off, so I ended up in Birmingham to watch the Aston Villa Spurs game. So that was it.
And you had a nice dinner with one of your former teammates.
Yep, caught up with French international, Kenza Daly. She's a gem. What a gal.
Can we look in the barrel and Kenza, any chance you could replace Ruesha on the show? It would be wonderful to have you here instead of this.
She would have a lot of good insight. She's played at a high level. She's still in the French national team. They have to start performing. I will tell them they need to start winning stuff because their team is frightening.
Listen, I completely agree with that. And by the way, they're probably better athletes or professionals than you will ever be.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay with that.
Here I am thinking about possibly doing Sober October, and you're like, I think I might do it too. And I'm like, hun, you should be sober every month.
That's true, that is true. But I think because I'm from the generation where
a pint was acceptable.
It was acceptable, and that was we go miles back. I'm nearly 44. Do you know what I mean? So I'm from that era where it was normal to go and have a kind of wee, what would we call it? Team bonding, I like to call it. And then obviously things were changing. It was getting more professional, and it was like, you can't do that. How dare you? And I was thinking, come on, a wee pint's not going to hurt anyone. So it's hard to kind of step away from that. But right now, if you want to know, I am 10 days after the booze. The comeback is on. The comeback is on. I start running next week, so I'm tunnel vision. Operation
Champions
Euros too.
League. Yeah.
Operation Euros, so it's got to be done.
This is it. So do you actually think, because not the same, but I used to be a dancer, and I swear when I started going out, I danced better. Like when I would go to a competition or I went to class the next day after like a night out, I was like, my God, I'm on fire today. And it was like my best performance. Do you sometimes feel like if you've had, back in the day, because obviously it doesn't happen anymore.
Obviously we're going back in the day. Back in the day there was a couple of times where I might have had a cheeky wee night out. I didn't do it often. I didn't do it often, by the way.
Can't do that.
There was a couple of times I remember there was one game, like it was carnage. Loads had happened on this night out and I was like, oh, and it was the pure guilt, the fear that I had an absolute worldie that day. And I mind the manager being like, that's the best game I've ever seen you play. And I was like, oh, whatever.
I had a pure quiet
But then I
night.
had another game and we were playing Hibs away. And I'd overdone it. I really overdone it. And I was like trying to kid on that I was fine and all that. I was on the pitch and I had to play wide right that game. There I was running wide out in the wing running. I thought, I'm going to cack my pants. And I had to be like, ref. I had to say, ref, I'm leaving. Because you get booked for running off pitch.
What,
so
a
I had to
hangover
run off pitch
poo?
into the changing room. I had to go to the toilet. Yeah. So it's not all glitz and glams, I must say.
Well, do you know what? It's unfair that if you get a yellow card when nature calls.
That's the rules of the game, do you know what I mean?
But now I hear that you were hanging out your backside.
Yeah.
I've not got as much sympathy for you.
Anyway, I'm just going to say that's highly unprofessional. That was the old me, and that was before I was playing professional football. So that's that.
I mean, a lot of people did it back in the day, but it's not the same anymore.
Times have changed.
Bet
When
you
I
and
started
Mitch
playing,
did that.
there's so much change in the last, I'm even going to say the last 6 years, the way the game has gone. So
Would you say it's verging on boring now?
it's not boring. We're pushing for equality. We're pushing for things to be better. So you've got to live up to the demands of being a professional footballer.
Okay, that's true. I like that you're on the straight and narrow. 10 days of the straight and narrow. Coming up for you very soon on the Kickback, we're going to hear from WSL legend Izzy Christensen. But first, we're now joined in the studio by London City Lioness defender and former Arsenal league title winner, Emma Mukandi. Emma, hello, welcome to the Kickback.
Thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here. Long time no see. I see you every day, God's sake.
How is that, like seeing her every day? Are you like her mum as well as being a mum?
I don't think it's possible for anybody to look after Ruesha. She just got to let her do her own thing and we just fit in with that.
You have to kind of get used to her weird ways. She's not right.
She's not right, but she's all right. So...
She's not right, but she's not wrong.
Yes.
She's
and
all right.
you want to have folk like Ruesha in your changing room, like, it's a bit vanilla, innit? So...
In fairness, I think our changing room, I think it's a bit of a culture shock for some people.
Oh, 100%. We've got 2 changing rooms, right? And like there's about 45,000 folk in one of them. And there's me, Ruesha, Georgia, Grace. There's like 5 of us. Then the Swedish girl, Sophia's came in and like she's a bit like sitting on the seat. And Maria, who doesn't really speak to anybody anyway, like she's a bit like...
Yeah, one of the Spanish girls.
Yeah.
We've got a Swede and a Spaniard that have come into the changing room. So our changing room, anything goes, isn't it? But it's good for people.
It's character building
See,
and...
I see, and you two are similar, like already off air, by the way, the things that they were just discussing, not acceptable. It would be cut out if we said it now, right? So I would imagine like a young, innocent Swedish girl being away from her family, going into that dressing room and being like, somebody, God save me. And then I think she makes people feel uncomfortable with the things she'll bring up. And I'm like, Rush, you can't say that. And she's like, I had that when I was young in a dressing room.
I feel like they're all like us, they just didn't want to be like us. Like everybody's got a bit of us in them, it's just like they think that they just can't do that.
Because they're scared.
Yeah,
They're
so
scared
like, we're
to
at
show
football,
their
we've got to be
character.
professional.
Yeah.
I'm like, still talk about sex toys and...
But we come from like, when we played at Glasgow City back in the day, we were exposed to it. So I'm like, but we were 16. But I'm like, you're old enough to have a child at that age. So you can speak about what you want to speak about. So I'm like, why should we now not speak about...
Why should we change?
Why should we change? It's good for
Because
people.
you're grown women.
Yeah, but this is like our hobby, innit? Like this, we've only just seen it as like a hobby. Now we get paid to do it, but like it's still like...
This is fun.
It's fun, innit?
Yeah.
It's good fun.
We need to get a fly on the wall on that dressing room, by the way. We should just get the production team to set up a little camera in that dressing room and
We'd get sacked.
cancelled.
within
We would get
minutes.
sacked, but it'd be great viewing. It would rate so well. Like the chat, you don't get better chat than changing room chat.
100%. I think we're actually probably worse than guys as well.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I'd love to be in a guy's changing room just to compare it and be like, oh. But then at the same time, they'd be like, oh.
I think I'd die in there. I'd be like,
you would love it. You would love it.
Definitely.
I'm sorry about Ruesha. Do you know, when we were young, and I remember Ruesha and Brogan started kissing the boys, and years ago that was, because now she's kissing the girls. But I remember when she told me she kissed a boy, I remember telling my mum and then doing a rosary.
No way.
I thought she was going to get like pregnant at 10 or something. I was like, this is so bad.
Yeah.
State of me. Anyway, let's talk about the WSL, shall we? Because there were some interesting results over the weekend, but I mean, Man City had something like 24 shots on target against Brighton, but it was Bunny Shaw who ended up finding the back of the net. Did you expect a little bit more against Brighton, or is Brighton your kind of team to watch?
I don't know, like I watched Brighton. Who did they play the first game of the season?
Arsenal.
And I thought they're
Count
actually...
you down as a viewer there, Mitchie.
Like, I thought they actually are all right, and I think that they've signed decent players. They've got that new manager in, and I thought Brighton's always tried to play like good football. Then when I seen the result against like Man City, and I'd actually text Viv saying like, "Oh, how was your game?" And she was like, they basically like defended really, really well. Like, we had loads of chances. Then when I actually seen the game back and like the actual highlights, I was like, I texted her back. I was like, "You could have been 5-6-0 up at half time." So I think Man City will be really exciting this year. I think adding obviously Viv and her playing in that 10 role and stuff with Bunny up front, and that once it clicks, it's going to click, and like I think it could be devastating against any of the teams.
I think that will be the case too. Did you expect a little bit more from City in that game?
I think when you look at their firing power up front, you'd expect them to score maybe a couple of goals. I still look at Viv, and I think Viv is the most natural finisher on the pitch. I know Bunny Shaw was top goal scorer last year. Obviously, Viv was injured for the majority of the season, so I think she will, once Viv gets going again, she will be banging in goals for fun. And I'm kind of like, there's a bit of me that wants to see Viv in the 9, but I know she's so good at dropping deep, making things happen. She's good at both, but if we're talking on goals and we're wanting goals to be scored, I'd like to see Viv just hat-tricks every game. Why not?
I want to see that for Viv as well. I think obviously just coming back for that awful injury that they've all had and stuff, that you thrive with being a striker and scoring goals. But to be fair, do you know who else I've been impressed with that? Jess Park, that's her name, right? She's like took her moment and just really like grabs the games by the horns, or whatever it is that you're saying. Like, yeah, she doesn't look like a young kid in that team at all.
Yeah. No, she's so direct, and when she's confident, the way she can get turned and just drive at people, it's frightening. It reminds me of a younger version of myself.
Right. What, a young, sober version of yourself?
Yes.
Jesus wept. Honestly. She is a lightning player. She's absolutely incredible. But I think when you look through the squad of Manchester City, you see how good they are. And that's the thing with Brighton. We've spoken about them a number of times. They've strengthened in all the right places. They've brought in a new manager, and they've invested well. But at the end of the day, City get all 3 points to get their first win of the season, as did Arsenal. But once again, it felt like Arsenal made hard work of it against Leicester. But did Leicester just park the bus very nicely?
I mean, to be fair, I've seen the highlights I've seen of that. Leicester looked like they had good chances to score. Like, it's been all over Twitter and stuff saying like the new goalie that then started for Arsenal, that she's made some really worldy saves. So it seems like Leicester had their opportunities there, but probably just with the players that Arsenal have got, like if they've not created that much chances, there's always going to have that quality to actually finish off games. And probably having like the midweek game as well in the Champions League, like mentally they've maybe just fought like been big tough. Probably a mental week for them, knowing obviously no qualifying for it last year, how big a job it probably was in terms of like the club in general, making sure they're in Champions League. So I think for them, as long as they're winning games, they're not going to care if it was 1-0 or whatever. It's 3 points at the end of the day, so they'll tick that one off.
I think that's a good point. Like Arsenal, City, Chelsea have now got Champions League. There's a lot of games coming in the calendar right now, so it'll be interesting to see who can keep performing on the weekend. And
but on that as well, how come then the game against Man United's been allowed to be moved for Chelsea, but does Arsenal not play? They play somebody on a Sunday, then they've got the Champions League during the week, and their weekend games not being changed. So how come it's been for one team and not the other? Yeah,
we can discuss that now in a little bit more detail. So we know that the Manchester United fixture at Chelsea, which a sold-out WSL game, has now been postponed because of player welfare, because then they'll play again on the Tuesday. So I think Arsenal then get that extra day. Right, they don't play till the Wednesday, is how it will work out. But a lot of fans not happy about that either, because it's a sold-out game, they've got plans of travel, but actually, is it not important that they're actually putting the player welfare first?
I would say so. Probably like with the amount of injuries that are now happening, with all the fixtures that are coming into place. Obviously, when you're playing Champions League and you want to be playing all these best teams, but the FA and whoever's organising the league now, that has to be paramount, and that is the players' welfare. So I think well done for actually doing that. It's just, yeah, if it's been a sold out game and people have obviously probably paid their money and stuff to come, that's kind of but
yeah, it's a shame for the fans, but I don't know if there's any way they can hopefully get money back for their tickets, or they'll get tickets given to them. Obviously, some have paid for hotels and transport. It's unfortunate, but I think the players' safety comes first right now, and with the amount of injuries there's been, why play that first? Why put the players at risk? Because then you probably won't be getting the same quality of football going forward, because there'll be so many injuries from that game, maybe.
And like you say, Champions League then rolls around. I want to focus more on Manchester City, because Gareth Taylor, it feels like now perhaps there's an element of pressure for him to win a league title. Is that fair to say? I mean, we look at the pressure that Jonas would be under to win more than a Conti Cup. Surely Gareth Taylor has to go and win a league now because he's been so close.
I think so. I think that's probably the next step for that club, to be fair, in terms of the group of players that they've got. They've probably had a good chunk of them now consistently there for like 3 or 4 years. 100%. I don't know why he gets away and no pressures under him. I think because you're so used to seeing Arsenal, Chelsea, then Man City had that one, when was it, 2016? I think it was the last time they won it. So, yeah, with the players that they've got, they should definitely be. Like, it was weird, it says that Viv was like, for goal difference, we've only scored 1 goal. And like, she's literally right, because like last year it potentially could have came down to that. So, yeah, they really need to, they have to basically be right up there to the very end, I think, yeah.
I think when you look at that, like Jonas Eidevall and Gareth Taylor, that's a long time that they've went with not winning. Like, yes, Arsenal won the Conti Cup last season, but the amount of money that these teams have spent on players, the wages, salaries, like, and the way they're being helped by the clubs to be better, they're not performing, they're not delivering. So why have they got so long? That's been a long time that these teams haven't won trophies, big trophies. So should there be change?
Well, Gareth Taylor in particular is a very good manager, and it felt like last season they run it so close until was it the penultimate game, then Arsenal beat them, which was a little bit of a shock in the fashion that it happened. And then Chelsea made it up on goal difference, which was an incredible end to the season. It really did have that brilliant run. But then you were looking at 2 teams really battling it out. And that's what was brilliant about it. But like we say, City need to do more this season. And a face that we're actually seeing more and more on the punditry scene is former Manchester City and Lyon midfielder Izzy Christensen. Now, Cupra invited us along to the Pro-Am paddle tour, where we got to catch up with Izzy.
Hi Izzy, first of all, welcome to the Kickback. I hear you've been watching.
I have, yeah. I managed to watch some of a former episode with, was it previous episode with Cal Ward? Yeah, super show. Love it, love the chemistry between the 2 sisters. I think they're hilarious.
Little message for them?
No, just congrats, keep it up. Yeah, you give me a giggle now and again, so thank you for entertaining the nation.
We've been talking up one of your previous teams, Man City, in the studio the last couple of weeks, saying they might have a very good chance to win the league this season. How do you see the league playing out for Man City?
Yeah, I think they'll be right in there, right up there. I think Shebhan and Ruesha are spot on with that. I think, it's great to see Manchester City getting some recognition for the football they play. I think there's two things in this. There's winning trophies and there's the football you play. If you marry the two up, you have a league title in your hands at the end of the season, and possibly a domestic trophy as well. And then who knows in the Champions League. It's good to see them back in the Champions League. I genuinely think it's subject to opinion, but I think they play the best football in the league. I think they're such a joy to watch. The Arsenal game, the opening game at the Emirates a couple of weeks ago, was just a terrific game of football. Probably the managers be happy with the point, but they're absolutely spot on. City are right there or thereabouts. The recruitment's been good, and I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with. I genuinely think Gareth Taylor's so underrated as a manager. I think he's got such a terrific idea of the game, and the way that he's developed players within that squad. For me, that's always a marker of a good coach, is how many players are you developing, how many players are improving week on week inside the WSL in the training environment. And I genuinely I could probably count on 2 hands the amount of players that I've seen improve under his management. But yeah, I think if you were to be really perfect, and my view on it is maybe if they could bring another defender in, I think they'd really, really bolster the squad even more. A defender who's almost like a world-class defender. Bolster the squad even more to make sure they're defensively watertight, because they say goals wins you games, but defence is winning you championships.
If not Man City, then who?
Well, I think Chelsea. Chelsea, you know, they looked like they were tight against Aston Villa on Friday night in the opening weekend. I think, you know, there's plenty of room for improvement within that squad. Under a new manager, I think the guidance of Sonia Bompastor will benefit them, whether it benefits them straight away or whether it's going to be in the next year or two. I don't know, but they're going to be closely marshalled by Manchester City and Arsenal. Again, Arsenal, we can put them into the equation. I'm still yet to kind of be totally convinced on them, but that's not to say I doubt them. I just mean that I just think they need to piece it all together, and I kind of think they lack that sort of consistency, and that only comes from the defeats and the draws last year when they dropped points last season. I'm going, they probably on paper they should be beating West Ham, they should be beating Tottenham, but this is also a recognition of the league now as well. It's improving significantly, but yeah, Arsenal there or thereabouts, and I think Manchester United can go in with a bit of a dark horse mentality. They've got a winning mentality at that football club, but yeah, I think they can slip under the radar a little bit.
Izzy Christensen there, former Manchester City. She sees her club as playing the best style of football. You guys were just discussing there, speaking about the Champions League, the amount of fixtures now in the WSL and the Cup. Obviously, they'll get entry to the League Cup a little bit later on because they're in the Champions League, but the amount of football there is now, do you think they've got the squad to cope with that?
Yeah, we were just saying that. Like, I think that Man City's starting 11 and stuff's like phenomenal, but like you would worry about whether if they get injuries, then where do they go and like the depth of their squad, whereas compared to Chelsea's and Arsenal, like they've got theirs is packed. So like if somebody was to get a niggle and having to miss a game for Sunday, you know that they're going to replace them. So that's the only bit I think with Man City that I would kind of worry in terms of with all these games that can they keep everybody fit.
Yeah, I totally agree. Squad wise, yes, I think their attacking line is deadly, it's quality. Wingers, wide players, forwards. But like we say, if there's injuries and the demands of games, then that's where you would worry. But I think Chelsea, I'd feel more confident for Chelsea, even more than Arsenal, because I think the strength and depth that we touched on last week of the Chelsea squad, it's frightening. It's packed. If a player goes out, another one comes in. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think you're going to see teams, we were just talking about that, their teams will start to slip up, especially when you look at the groups that they're in, which we'll touch on a bit later. The groups, the squads that they'll be playing, I won't be surprised to see a few teams drop points along the way after Champions League fixtures. Well,
Sonia Bompastor, the new Chelsea manager, has apparently got a blueprint to win the Champions League. That's what she is so focused on doing for Chelsea. And you're right, the squad, because we watched the Palace game together at Selhurst Park the other night, 7-0. And the rotation, the players that she could bring on, you know, the subs that she was making, players almost looked that angry way that they weren't getting their full 90. You know, you were seeing key players for Emma Hayes' side getting subbed off at 60 minutes. So she obviously wants to ruffle a few feathers too.
I think ruffle feathers, but at the same time, there's a lot of games coming up, so she's probably been smart. And that's it. It doesn't matter who you are on that team. I think you should be actually going, right, I've started the game. If I get 60 minutes here, I need to make them count because I know someone's coming on to replace me. And when they come on, they're coming on to go, right, I want to start the next game, so I've got 30 minutes here to show what I can do. So it's good. It's a good place to be in, but the players will just have to get on board, and that's the way it's going to be.
Just looking at the group stages then of the Champions League, the draw was done on Friday. Group A, you've got Lyon, Wolfsburg, Roma and Galatasaray. Group B, Chelsea, Real Madrid, FC Twente and Celtic. Group C, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Juventus and Valencia. And Group D, Barcelona, Manchester City, St. Pölten and Hamburg as well. So some of what I would say is last time round there was a nice few shocks in there. Whereas I think this time round, with no disrespect to any of the clubs, we're seeing the best pedigree in women's football in Europe and back in the Champions League.
100%. I think that's why it's so important that Arsenal then are playing Champions League football. I think when you think of Champions League football, you think of Arsenal, like Arsenal ladies. So like for them to be there, it's so important. But like you said, I feel like when it comes to Europe, like every game's hard. Like even I think like when Chelsea go to Celtic Park, I think that'll be a tough game. Like not saying that Chelsea's not got enough to go and then win there, but like that's going to be hard for them to go there. I imagine that Celtic will be really organised and like put on a good defensive display. And like a lot of these unknown teams that are then coming into it and stuff, like whoever you're playing, was it that Posen or whatever they were?
Posen.
Yeah, Posen. Remember we went to Champions League and it was, were you there in class and we were playing that Champions League game and it was like, I can't remember what she was calling them, but that minded me of that. But all the games are going to be hard because they're all like everybody's now full time and good coaches, good players, and yeah, like I don't think there's an easy game in Champions League football now.
I think one of your Scotland teammates, Erin Cuthbert, I think she's actually always lifelong dream playing at Parkhead. She's always wanted to walk out of paradise, I'm sure, so it's good that she can take that off the bucket list.
Massive Rangers fan is Erin Cuthbert. Her and her family, aren't they? They love Rangers. So her playing at Parkhead should be a giggle. Oh my God, it could be an absolute disaster as well for some of the Celtic players, because I imagine she will not hold back. But some exciting groups in there. Who do you think would be the outright winner here?
I quite like how the new manager at Chelsea's been like, I've got a blueprint for it, because I feel like that's the one thing that Chelsea really are missing. And like, if you're going to bring in a manager who's won it as a player, did she win it as a?
Yeah.
She has won it as both,
Player,
so like
player
and manager, then I feel like for the next step for Chelsea, that's what they've got to go and do. And the players that they've also got as well, there's a lot of experience in the Champions League. A lot of them have now won it as well. So like, I'd love to see Chelsea going and win it. Like, obviously Arsenal's been the only team that's done it in England, so like, yeah, like I feel like they've had that experience of being in the final now, so like the next step for them, and I think they definitely do have the squad to do it. So I'm going to call it. I'm going to say Chelsea win Champions League.
I think that was my call last week. I think I said that.
Yeah.
I want to see Chelsea do it. Obviously, you've got like favourites right now are probably Barcelona, but I won't be surprised if, you know, it could be a tough ask for them to do it again. There's teams catching up. Chelsea are getting so close to it that I'm like, now they've got the manager. No disrespect to Emma Hayes, because we know that she's been unreal for Chelsea, what she's done, what she's achieved. But Sonia Bonpastor, she's done it as a player, she's done it as a manager. So if she's got that blueprint, hopefully she'll sell me it for 50 quid.
I'm sure you go far, but Barcelona as well. Like when they won back-to-back Champions Leagues, you know, when you do see them there in that competition, they're outstanding. Then you got to look at season before last. It was Barcelona against Wolfsburg in the Champions League final. Wolfsburg were 2-0 up, going into half-time, and then Barcelona come back and win the game 3-2 in the second half. There's so much brilliant football now being played across Europe, and that's something we can celebrate, knowing that it's 3 teams from England. Obviously, the WSL is really pushing, and then Celtic coming into it too. It's good stuff.
Just were you saying Celtic were from England there? Because that riled me up.
From England.
Well, Celtic aren't from England.
Celtic coming into it.
That's fine. Sorry, I got my back up.
God,
there.
honestly, she doesn't half get her back up.
Okay.
Speaking of Celtic, well done to them, by the way, because they've made history getting to the round of 16 for the first time ever. I got the chance to catch up with their defender, Caitlyn Hayes. Welcome to the Kickback. Celtic and Republic of Ireland defender Caitlyn Hayes. Hello, Caitlyn. How are you?
Good, thank you. Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very well. I mean, it must be in a very happy time, because Celtic are history makers, making it to the round of 16 of the Champions League.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say it's not really sunk in, with obviously creating history yet again with these girls, and obviously in that top, there's not much things that mean more to me, so just grateful for it.
What a massive club. I mean, we don't have to talk about that, because you play for Celtic. Ruesha played for Celtic, is a huge Celtic fan. I'm a Celtic fan. So to see now the changes that this current team are making and how far they're going, it makes me feel proud. So I can only imagine how the team are doing.
Yeah, I think obviously to be that representation, not only to wear the green and white, but also to be the representation of women's football in Scotland. And I think the path that, or the visibility that can now be that girls play football in Scotland, I think it's kind of a league that's maybe hidden away, maybe sometimes disrespected or something like that. But I think this puts us on the map, and it allows people to look and see that there's also football teams up here doing pretty well for themselves. And yeah, to be that visible model for young girls to look up to in this country, I think is something that it's severely lacked in the past, but thankful to have it in the present.
You've jumped into a group that even more eyes will come on Celtic women, because to be in a pot with Chelsea and Real Madrid and 20, who I think have surprised a lot of people as well now with their journey. Have you thought and dissected and had a minute to think about the opposition in the Champions League?
I think we're in a time where you don't really get a chance to stop and stare at anything that's going on around you. You've just got to kind of have your head down and work hard. We were in Montrose yesterday, and this is our first day off in a while, so you get kind of the opportunity to lift your head, and not many people can say they'll have the opportunity to play against Real Madrid, and it'll just be something that surpasses far my dreams that I ever had playing for this club. So yeah, just excited for the opportunity, and obviously to go up there and do Scotland, and not just Scotland but Celtic proud, I think is something that we all desire to do.
Absolutely. And Parkhead, I mean, the amount of women's games and fixtures now we see happen at the main stadium, and teams making conscious efforts now to make sure that that's done, it is something very exciting to think about if that happens as well.
Yeah, there's no place like paradise, as I'm constantly banging on about, and I don't think you ever understand it unless you have the opportunity to go, not just to a men's game but also to a women's game. It's a stadium and that's far superior than most I've ever played in. So yeah, just excited for the opportunity, and also to again be that visible representation that's paradise can be a girl's place too, and it can be their home, and yeah, just excited to obviously wear that colour in front of those fans. Yeah, super excited.
I can't wait for that when it does happen. Like, I cannot wait for that. I think it'll be so special. Caitlyn, fun fact about Paradise and Celtic women. Did you know that Ruesha Littlejohn was the first player to be sent off at Parkhead? Women's player. First women's player to be sent off Parkhead.
You know what? If somebody had asked me the question and I'd have to have a guess, I probably would have guessed Ruesha. But yeah, that is a title she probably has on a mantelpiece, and it's something to definitely be proud of. So yeah, no, never in doubt with Ruesha.
She's a disgrace of a human being. Just around the corner, it's another international break as well. You're into this qualification now for the Euros. I mean, what would it mean to you to get there?
Oh, just full of the easy questions today, aren't you? I don't know. It's just, again, you don't really have time to think about it. I think sometimes if you look too far ahead of yourself, you're guilty of maybe making a misstep that's so easy to make. So I can't say I've let myself dream too much about it, or playing at Paradise against whoever that will be. It's just about taking each training session at a time. And I know that's the old cliche, and you probably think I'm told to say that, but it's definitely what you have to do. Otherwise, it can be quite an overwhelming place as well at the same time. But grateful to have the opportunity to even be overwhelmed. So yeah.
And you're doing so well. You're doing so well for whatever club, country it is you're representing. It seems like you're really stepping up as a player, and it's good to see. You'll be stepping up also this week against Rangers. And what is maybe the best rivalry ever?
I don't think there's any argument in it. I think people that obviously I grew up in Manchester, Liverpool, so everybody would say probably Liverpool, Everton, or United and Liverpool, but I don't even get involved in the arguments because there's just no point, because there's only one rivalry that beats that is better, and it's this one up here, and thankful the right team come out top more often than not in the men's game. So yeah, we'll see what happens Thursday. Excited for it, and excited to obviously go against them lot up the road.
Caitlyn, thank you so much for taking the time for coming on the Kickback. Keep going strong, and we'll be following your journey and Celtic's journey in the Champions League. Rush, your Republic of Ireland teammate there, Caitlyn Hayes, she speaks so well. She's loving life at Celtic. They're in the Champions League. I mean, that's amazing.
No, it's great. It's great to see it finally. I think they've been working hard behind the scenes for the last few years. We've obviously seen them win the league, so it's great to now see them in with the big dogs of the Champions League. And it's good that Celtic hopefully now are absolutely fully behind the women's team. They're backing them. We've seen them playing games at Parkhead. We know that they're going to play Chelsea at Parkhead. It's a shame there's not a couple more fixtures there. But it'll be good. I think it'll be really tough. It's going to be really challenging. I think it might be a bit of a reality check to see how far off we are from like the top teams in Europe. But it's great to see. The only way they get a taste of it is actually being there. So it's nice that they'll be there and they'll get to see what it's really all about.
Do you agree with that? I mean, Celtic is a worldwide club, right, with a massive fan base. So for me, I actually think, again, a women's team starting to flourish, take the next step in a competition, is just so good for the game.
No, it's really great to see, to be fair, like having Champions League at Celtic Park, and that. I think it's just important now that the women have got there, and then the club then back that and invest and like let them then stay there. I think it's hard to get there as it is, but then staying there is even harder. So like I think it's going to be such a great experience for the girls to just experience like day nights at Celtic Park. Then obviously the opponents that they're playing against, like they are the games you want to play. Like it's not your Montrose away or like your Hearts and your Hibs and stuff. Like they're the games that really like could define your season. So like it's a great opportunity for them.
I feel like that. There's a bit of me right now, and I know you'll be like, oh, here you are, Grim Reaper again.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't get battered, because this is like there's there's playing in Scotland and then there's playing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And the levels are massive. So I hope that they can just keep it tight. I hope to see them maybe against the likes of 20, dream and try and get a win there. Get a point or get a win to like sort of go, right, we've done that in the Champions League, we've arrived, and that's the first step, it's a baby step. But I just hope it's not like the floodgates won't open and it won't be like high score lines. I'd hate to see that.
And when we think of like Parkhead as well, we know that it's a hard place for teams to go to because of the atmosphere. So the fact that the Chelsea game will happen at Paradise, if the club can really push it and make sure that all the fans turn out to support the girls, I mean, that could be the difference if you get the fan base on side, because it's a proper cauldron and a great atmosphere.
I mean, I think it's one of the things, if you're no then used to do it, like playing in front of that all the time, like obviously like we're talking about the Chelsea, like them going up there, their players are probably more used to them playing in front of like big crowds, loud and stuff like that, whereas like for the Celtic players that'll be a new experience for them. So then how do you cope with that? That's sometimes not easy, like you're playing big crowds, you can't even hear your teammates speak, like maybe get overpowered by just the noise and just the whole experience, but you also need to enjoy that, like they didn't come around that often, so if that was to be the case and they get loads of bodies in and stuff like that, absolutely just cherish it, because you didn't know the next time it's going to happen.
Time for some truth juice, because you have some advice to Celtic women's background staff.
Okay, so this is it. I'm a Celtic fan. Okay, want to see them do well. However, Champions League, they went away. They travelled away, okay, neutral venue. They were playing a Ukrainian team. So it was a neutral venue, and I had seen on social media, which is fine. I don't think the girls actually had a problem with this, but me looking from the outside, looking in, they were travelling, and they were travelling with their kit, with their bags. There was delays at the airport. Yes, that can't be helped or controlled. They were just on a normal flight, which again, I'm not saying they have to be travelling business or anything like that, but you'd hope to see them maybe get a chartered flight for going on these journeys, or you'd hope to see at least Celtic arrange that the kit and everything is taken ahead of the game, so there's no stress in travelling. It's just a nice transition for them. They get to the airport, they get on their flight, they're rested, they're prepared for these games. There was delays, they're lying about at the airport, they're on the floor, they're trying to sleep at the airport on the floor. Why can't they be away, resting, or just doing the most for the game? It's a simple thing, but you would not catch Celtic men travelling like that. They wouldn't be carrying their luggage with them. Do you know what I mean? So just do that, back them, let them prepare as best as they can. You might think I'm being a diva, but I'm like, that's rolling back 10 years ago, kind of carry on. That shouldn't be happening now. You're playing in the Champions League. It's the Champions League. Do the most, support them. So I hope that's going to be normal now going forward for them.
I think that's a fair point. I mean, there's a number of things now that we see changing, and like you say, it's not a diva thing. Everybody's probably willing to pick up a bag and carry an extra case and all that. Everybody does that, but it's their preparation to get the best from them, and if they're sleeping on airport floors, it's probably not going to look good. So from something you're passionate about, Rush, which is making sure that everything's done for you.
And by the way, I would be, if I'm at the airport and there was a long delay, and if I can have a lie down, I would do it too. So it's not about the players doing that. They're just dealing with what they've been dealt with there. Do you know what I mean? But it's
Wait,
like...
so did the girls then put all this stuff on social media to try and make a point? Or
No, they're just having fun. I think they've not even clicked. But I'm going, you're now playing the Champions League.
But does this know they maybe come back to the inexperience of the club never been in the Champions League? So like...
Maybe, but I'm saying, well, they're not inexperienced because the men have been in the Champions League. That won't be happening.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So just go, the kit man, staff will go early to away games with the kit. They will travel with the luggage and stuff like that. Make it a smoother transition. When they rock up to Glasgow Airport, they should probably just be going to the lounge and then going to their plane. I'm not saying they need a chartered flight or anything like that, because they're not going too far, but at the same time, let's give them the fair opportunity. Give them a fair chance. It's already hard enough.
Ooh, some spicy old truth juice from Rush this morning, eh? Yeah, but fair, you've got to be passionate about these things if you want to see change. Something, Mitchie, I think you've been passionate about for the last wee while is being a mum in football, and how kind of still unusual it is, kind of how unheard of it is, but how difficult that must be as a parent and giving birth and then finding your way back in football again.
I feel like this is weird. We were literally just speaking about it in the car the other day going, and I was thinking about last night again, and I feel probably similar for any mum that works. Like, you're almost just feel like you're on a hamster wheel like quite a lot of time, and then eventually you're probably going to fall off and die. But like, you kind of just got on with it. Like, I feel that when we made the decision we were going to have kids, and it happened really quick for us, and then this popped along, then I was like, I feel like what was the next like part of my career? I was like, I really want to get back for this and just kind of prove that you could do it. Like, obviously you've got Dagny at West Ham, she's just had another one, she's got 2 now, and I think, my God, how does she actually do that, especially not in her home country. She's got her husband here just helping. Like, when they say it takes a village, like, it literally does. I feel like that's probably the biggest struggle that me and Ivan do have. Like, we didn't have this big, massive network of people around us. So when it comes to childcare and stuff, it's costing us a fortune, like, just to make sure that we've got... And especially with our schedule, and that changes all the time. Like, I'm constantly moaning and saying, like, I need the schedule for next week. I need to sort childcare. Like, they're the bits that I feel like sometimes that they didn't really understand, like, a little bit, like the planning and just the stress of the planning and getting up early in the morning, sorting in this before obviously leave, and then a lot of the time, like, I'm late to meet the girls or whatever, but you just kind of really, do you know what I mean? Like, if Finis like, I'm wearing my wellies in the morning and I'm like, no, come on, it's trainers, like, and it's 40 degrees outside. You just have to let her go in the wellies, like, so you pick your battles. But it's the most rewarding job in the world, 100%, like, being a parent. I think, like, it's probably not until I step back and stop playing, it'll be like, oh my God, how did I manage it?
You did it all. Yeah, and that's the thing now, the WSL with the new takeover, there are plans in place to make sure that women in football are being supported if they want to go off and have a child, or if they are pregnant, and making sure that they've got the best care possible. Now, Dan Carter, who plays with you guys, is currently pregnant.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her. So she's going to go through everything that you've gone through. What would you like to see differently for her in that situation?
I feel like even when it comes to the maternity policy that's still in play, I feel like it's not enough, and there's been this grey area, it's been left around it to be like, it's up to your clubs to just, this is the bare minimum, and the clubs could do more. But I feel like that's so unfair if you're then at, I don't know, say like a Durham in this league, do they have the money that's actually able to support the girls who then fall pregnant there? So then maybe they feel like they can't actually do it because financially can afford that. So there needs to be a thing that's actually put in place that you feel comfortable enough, because let's be honest, it all comes down to money realistically. Like, you're like, Leopold's that had her baby at Chelsea, she probably wasn't financially worried about it costing her £1,700 a month childcare as it is for me and Ivan, basically. But yeah, like, I just feel like it shouldn't really be put on the clubs all the time. Like, the FA should come along and just like 14 weeks full wage after giving birth. Like, I couldn't sit down basically for like the first 8 weeks. Like, I think it's obviously depending on like what your birth and stuff's like, everybody's is going to be different, but I just feel like that's got to be longer. Like, the care after it, the care even like during your pregnancy, like, I found it really, really lonely. Like, it was quite an isolating experience. Like, I can't really speak for Dan, like, at least like we've got a lot of injured girls right now, so like in the gym she's not really left on her own. But yeah, like, I just feel that to have that support in place, like the right programmes, the right pelvic health specialists to come along and make sure, like, I feel actually that could be something that we could all use, to be honest, like having babies or not having babies. But yeah, like, I think the policy needs to be much better. Just solidify it, like, just make it bulletproof, and like there's not going to be like 100 girls at like a season that are then going to get pregnant, because there's so many different factors that people make the decision to do that. But yeah, then I feel like in the situation I'm in now, like almost that 2-3 years down the line, and this will be free in like November, it's just like that, like, what do you need? Like, how could I make it easier for you? Like, do you need more, an extra day off, or like do you just need the schedule more in advance, or like, if I'm struggling for childcare, allowing us to come in, or like, what does that look like? Like, we didn't really have stuff like that in place. And I'm not saying that we should bend over backwards, because I feel like if you're a mum who works anyway, like, you have to find, you didn't take your kid, you can't even bring your kids into here, do you know what I mean? So like, but I feel like especially we've got in the WSL and stuff, like, there's a lot of foreign players that are coming over, like, will they make that decision if they know that they probably won't, if they don't feel that support for the club. So
yeah, it feels like now there has to be a statutory pay in place that's livable for all athletes in the game who can do that. Like you say, Lou Paul's will be a different situation, because it was just a Chelsea player, and a very experienced Chelsea player when she had her baby. But, you know, further down the leagues, it could be very, very different. But it's just having that support network and making sure that clubs and making sure that the FA and the WSL go, we've got a new mum here, how can we support them? Is that, you know, mum's days off? Is that, you know, bring your child to work this day? Because if the girls are happy with it, and, you know, you need that extra help, we're here. Because I've actually heard a lot of times now of some mums that bring the little one in because they've got nowhere to go for childcare. Dagny Brinsjar's daughter from West Ham actually put up on her social media a couple of times, and Lisa Evans, of course, who you played with at Scotland, had said that any time the little guy was in, it was nice morale, but it's a lot of things to juggle, being a professional player and having kids. I don't know how you do it. I say to Ruesha all the time, I'm like, God, fair play to Mitchie, like doing the drop-off at that time, got to go that travel out there, then you might be away at games, and then your husband works in football too, and he's got a different schedule. It's mental. So credit to you, and fingers crossed they get it right.
Do you know what I think on that? Forward. I think it's the sad thing is right now in the women's game, obviously being professional athletes, there's people that won't have a child right now. They'll put it off because they're scared that they won't get a new contract.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? But it's like you don't work in a school. You're not a teacher and go, oh, I'm not going to have a child because I might not get my job back. It's sad that's actually the case, because I don't know how we change that, and I get how maybe clubs might go, well, why would I want a player that's pregnant? Why am I going to waste a salary on a player that's pregnant? But at the same time, players get injured all the time right now, but you don't go, I'm not going to sign them right now because they might do their ACL.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some players that have previous injury history, like myself, where I might not get contracts in there, but that's fine, that's a different story. But it's sad to see. Hopefully things can change. Hopefully it will get better for women in football or women in professional sport, where they don't feel like they can't go away and have a child because they're scared that they won't come back to a career.
Yeah.
I feel like, sorry to interrupt, but like the one thing that Disney actually spoken about, and I didn't really know why it's not spoke about when it comes to the policy and that, but like, what happens if you have a miscarriage? Like fortunately that's never happened to us, and like touch wood, that would never be the case, but like, what's the process and support put in place in writing for that? Because that would be awful as it is, like if that was to ever happen to somebody, but why is that not being, like what does that look like? Like, do you know what I mean? For you, like your whole family, because like, that I can't, like, do you know, I didn't really know about this.
There's so many grey areas, there's a lot that has to, but I think maybe the FA or whoever it is, NUCO clubs that can all get together and
normalise
use the players,
even like this, like same-sex couples, like what does this support look like for them? Do you know what I mean? Like, why should it be any different just because I'm straight? But like, do you know what I mean? Poor Rush, like, what does it look like for her? Like, I feel like you want to know like how you're supported and stuff as well, in terms of like if you want to freeze your eggs or like, do you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be strict to being able to be a mum just because you're a footballer.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Very well said. You also mentioned the pelvic floor as well. I was on the trampoline with the kids recently and properly nearly wet myself just from jumping up and down the trampoline.
Yeah,
I was like,
get squeezing.
Perfect floor's gone to bits, and I didn't even push them out. Mitchie, it's been great to have you here. It has been. I want to get your predictions, both of you, of course, for the weekend ahead in the WSL. Brighton against Aston Villa. I'm tipping this as a bit of a cracker this weekend because both teams look good.
I'm going to go for a draw. Going for another draw.
You love sitting on the fence?
It's not sitting on the fence, it's just trying to be box clever here.
Okay.
Looking at both teams. Draw.
I think you're right. I think it could be a high scoring game. I'm going to then pick that to be... Who's playing at home?
Brighton.
I'm going to go Brighton. Home advantage.
Okay. Chelsea United, as we know, is postponed. Let's go to Manchester City against West Ham, Ruesha.
I think Manchester City will win that game, and I'm going to say they're going to win it comfortably. They're going to have to start banging in goals, and they'll start at the weekend.
Yeah, I think they'll wipe the floor of West Ham as well.
West Ham, I feel like they need to do something. Arsenal against Everton?
Again, I think Arsenal will probably win that quite comfortably. Obviously, Everton have had a few injuries in the last few weeks, and I think they've been pretty big ones, so they'll be big losses for them. So yeah, I think Arsenal win that comfortably.
I agree, Arsenal.
Okay, Spurs Liverpool?
I'm going to go for... I'm going to say it's going to be a draw again.
Okay.
Going for another draw.
I heard that Liverpool played really well against West Ham, to be fair, and they were unlucky to like actually draw the game.
Liverpool are organised.
Yeah,
well, see that
like, your teams are always like that. Wait, who were they playing again?
Spurs Liverpool.
I'm going to go Spurs, but we played them in pre-season. I thought they were pretty like tidy. They basically had like two teams that could come on in that as well. So like, I feel like Spurs might be a wee bit of a dark horse this season.
Okay, and Leicester City against Palace. Both teams in search for a little winsy woo.
I think Leicester will have enough. I think Palace need to kind of respect the league right now and realise that they're in with the big dogs and they have to maybe work on the defensive side of their game a lot. But Leicester.
Yeah, I think that'll be quite an easy job for Leicester on day as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll look forward to reviewing these. I will let you know who wins the money next week.
Who gets the pints?
Yes.
Who gets the pints in?
Yeah, there's absolutely no money, but you can definitely get around in if you lose. Mitchie, Emma Mukandi, as we should be calling you, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
To come in today.
Blast.
It's been fun. It's been good to talk to you.
And you.
Honestly, I'd hate to be in that dressing room. I would be airlifted out of there. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Once again, thank you so much for watching The Kickback. We'll see you next week.